Some new images have been released. They show the aftermath of the celebrity homes that were destroyed in the California wildfires last year, and it's not good.
New video shows the extensive damage along the scenic Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu.
This Malibu property has been in one family for 4 generations.
This is my house.
It's almost harder to find someone in Malibu now who didn't lose a home.
These fires that tore through Malibu, the Pacific Palisades, and Altadena destroyed thousands of homes. They claimed dozens of lives, and they created billions of dollars in damages. Entire neighborhoods were erased, but in the beginning, there was a lot of optimism about the city streamlining the permitting process and helping to ensure that these neighborhoods would be rebuilt quickly. But here we are today, and most of the affected properties are still nothing more than just empty lots.
It's been 1 year since the devastating fire that hit Malibu, Palisades, and Altadena. Some building going on in the Palisades, some in Altadena, 0 in Malibu. 1 year in, the only thing that's gone up is graffiti.
Dozens of celebrities lost their homes in the fires, including John Goodman, Paris Hilton, Spencer Pratt, Mel Gibson, and Barbara Corcoran. Some of these high-profile homeowners have started the slow rebuilding process, but others have decided not to rebuild at all. They've listed their lots for sale and have basically just walked away. Today, let's talk about what's left of these celebrity homes that were destroyed in the fires. Let's get into what the rebuilding process looks like from here, and we need to talk about how the city is making it almost impossible to rebuild, even for the people who really want to. Now, I didn't plan on making this video solely focused on celebrities because, let's be honest, everybody who was impacted by these fires are victims here, but Realtor.com put out this article a couple of weeks ago that summarizes a handful of celebrities who lost their houses, and so I figured we could take a look at this together as a point of reference because as you go through each one of these stories, you start to notice a bit of a pattern. Paris Hilton is featured here first. She was forced to watch her Malibu home burn to the ground on live TV. What's left of it now are just a couple of masonry walls in the front gate. Paris and her husband bought this house for $8.4 million in June of 2021. It's a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom, 3,000 square foot house right on the water where they planned to raise their 2 kids. The rubble's been cleared away at Paris's house, but there's no signs of rebuilding here yet, and she's since moved on to a $63 million mansion that she bought from Mark Wahlberg last summer. What's really crazy and sad is when you notice how much values have taken a hit in this region. Like I said, Paris bought her house out here a couple of years ago for $8.4 million. Now Redfin has it estimated to be worth $6.7 million, which is probably still a little bit optimistic. This is probably why we don't see a ton of people looking to resell yet, because they just can't stomach a loss like that. Next, we've got Jeff Bridges. Jeff owned a home on the beach in Malibu that's been in his family for generations. He and his siblings inherited this one when his parents passed away. The family was actually trying to sell the house when the fires broke out. It was listed for $8.9 million at the time, but they've since slashed the price all the way down to $4.4 million. This house has been on the market at this new price for over 6 months now. It seems like nobody wants it, and I think there's a good reason why, which we'll talk about later in the video. Spencer Pratt and Heidi Montag are next. These guys are up in the Pacific Palisades. They were actually home when the fires hit their 3-bedroom house. They shared a lot of the chaos on their Instagram accounts as it was happening. Spencer and Heidi, they bought their house for $2.5 million in 2017, and at the time that the fires hit, estimates said that their house was worth around $3.8 million, just to get a sense for the value of houses in this neighborhood. Well, these two have now been told by local builders that their home is going to cost $5 million to rebuild. That's $5 million to rebuild a house that they already paid $2.5 million for. Plus, they'd be paying $5 million for a house that would probably be worth much less than $5 million when they finish it. Understandably, Spencer has been super vocal on social media since the fires broke out. He's launched a lawsuit against the city of Los Angeles and has attacked Governor Newsom for their handling of the situation, and he's alleging that the city's infrastructure issues were responsible for the loss of their home. It's interesting to look at Spencer and Heidi's story because they have just been so transparent about everything since the very beginning, and I know there's some people out there who are like, oh, whatever, these guys are all celebrities, they can afford to rebuild, but guess what? Even if you're a millionaire, it's still going to be a stretch to be able to afford a $5 million house, especially when you need to build that house on a lot that you already have a big loan on. Moving on, Anthony Hopkins had a house in the Pacific Palisades that he bought in 2019 for $6 million. He went on to do extensive renovations to the home after he bought it, so he was into the house for much more than $6 million. Anthony's house burned to the ground in the fires, and at 88 years old, he wasn't interested in even trying to pursue the rebuilding process. He sold his lot for $3.42 million in November. John Goodman owned a house in the Palisades that he bought in 2007 for $4.6 million. He too went on to do renovations and expand the house over the years that he owned it. But in the fire, everything was destroyed. John has since cleaned up the lot, but there's no evidence of any new construction that has started out here yet. Then last, we've got Mel Gibson. He bought an incredible house in Malibu for $11.5 million about 15 years back. Mel's lot has been cleaned up too, but again, no real evidence of rebuilding has happened here either. Seeing these neighborhoods and massive celebrity homes being hit by something totally outside of their control is just a reminder of how fragile real estate can be. Thankfully, most of us will never be impacted by something like a fire, but we will still face a lot of unpredictability with the homes that we own, especially rental property. And thanks to the sponsor of today's episode, TurboTenant, the daily chaos of owning a rental can be made quite a bit more manageable. Back when I was a landlord, I honestly thought I could DIY everything. I was chasing rent the old school way, digging through texts to try to remember who fixed what, and tax season was like another full-time job. I didn't have a support system. I really just had a bunch of messy spreadsheets. That's why I'm a fan of TurboTenant. Looking back, I'm realizing that this system could have saved me a lot of headache and also probably a lot of gray hair. TurboTenant is an all-in-one platform built for independent landlords to stay organized and streamline their entire rental process. From advertising your listing to state-specific leases and automated bookkeeping, everything is all in one convenient dashboard. This tool costs less than most monthly streaming services, so if you're a landlord who's looking to simplify your business, click the link down in my description to learn more. Thank you to TurboTenant for sponsoring today's episode. So 1 year post-fire, it seems like these homeowners are falling into one of three different categories. There's one group of people who don't know what to do with the situation, but they presumably have the means to stay somewhere else for a while, so they're just leaving their burned lot vacant and not doing anything with it right now. There's another group of people who have decided that they don't even want to try to go through the rebuilding process, so they just list their lot for sale and sell at a massive loss. And then there's a third group of people who try to pursue that rebuilding process, and this is happening a little bit more so in the inland neighborhoods, but in Malibu, there is almost nobody choosing to rebuild. One big question that came to my mind whenever I was putting together the notes for this video is why aren't a lot of these celebrities, or non-celebrities for that matter, pursuing the insurance route? As it turns out, of course, you can try to pursue a homeowner's insurance claim if you had proper insurance. Homeowner's insurance does sometimes cover wildfire damage, but there's also limits on what insurers will actually pay compared to the real rebuilding cost. For example, there's one couple out of Malibu that told Bloomberg that they do plan to rebuild, but the reconstruction costs are going to be double their insurance coverage. Rebuilding might seem like the best route if you have the money for it, of course, but not all that many people are pursuing it. There's a reason why only 10% of the 11,000 homes that were burned have even received permits for reconstruction. The cost of home building, just like any industry, is totally correlated with supply and demand. It was already very expensive to build a house in California before the fires. We're talking an estimated of $500 per square foot for simpler luxury homes on flat lots to over $1,000 per square foot in build costs for homes that were built on the ocean or on a hillside. This means that even a small 2,500 square foot home is going to cost well over $1 million to build out there if you're building from scratch. But that's before the fire, okay? So now we're in this situation where there's about the same number of home builders in town as there were before, but we've all of a sudden got 11,000 homes that unexpectedly need to be built. This obviously creates a massive supply and demand issue, which drives up the price to build a new house more. So even if you've got deep pockets and you're like, whatever, I'm just gonna suck it up, cough up the money, and rebuild my house, you're gonna be looking at a few months of planning, another 3 to 6 months to get a permit to start building, and then another year to build your new house if you're even lucky enough to find a home builder who has the availability. I will say that as much of a bummer as all of this is, there's a lot of people in California who are really rallying together to make the rebuilding process faster and more efficient. On that note, I wanted to show you guys something real quick. Okay, so some of you guys might have heard of this already, but there's a group in LA right now called Crest Real Estate who's created this program called Case Study 2.0. Basically, what Case Study 2.0 is a team of architects who have come together and they've designed 50 awesome houses, and the objective here is to take these 50 sets of blueprints, bring them to the city, get them basically pre-approved to build. So that way, if you're one of these victims who lost your house in the fire, you can pluck off one of these Case Study 2.0 homes set of plans, bring them into the city and be like, I want to build case study home number 12. And in theory, the city is just going to give you a stamp of approval to build that house on the spot. There are so many super, super cool homes. And I'm not going to click on these and go through the details, but if you click on any one of these houses, it'll actually take you to a long PDF that outlines the thought process behind the build, the architectural style. It gets into details with the footprint and the floor plan and the dimensions and all of that stuff. I mean, and some of these houses are really cool. Granted, yeah, some of them are also very futuristic. Like, I don't know if that house is going to get built at all. You just keep scrolling through this. You're like, okay, like this one, I could totally see getting rebuilt. This is very modern, very stylish, but also very simple to rebuild. Imagine you're one of these homeowners. It would be pretty cool to go to this menu of options and be like, oh, you know what? I really like that house, or I really like that style of house. And then, like I said, you can click on any one of these, get all your details, and just bring them right down to the city. I'm not sure exactly how far along they are in the process with the city. Like, I don't know if the city has actually given their blessing on any of these designs yet, or if it's still like a conceptual thing. But either way, it's a great concept, and hats off to everybody who put this together. Before we round this video out, I want to go back to Malibu for a minute and talk about the real reason why nobody has started to rebuild in Malibu specifically yet, and that is because of caissons. Let me explain. If you look at homes that are built along the coastline over the last 100 years, these houses were held up by something called piles. Piles are basically telephone poles that are jammed into the sand that houses were built on top of, and they're exactly what you still see holding up the Malibu pier to this day. And that pier, by the way, was built in 1905, so clearly the whole telephone poles jammed into the sand method must be working. Well, since all of these homes in Malibu were lost, the City and Coastal Commission are now requiring homeowners to rebuild their homes with caissons instead of piles. Caissons are similar to piles, except instead of wood, they're basically massive tubes of concrete that are poured into the ground after you drill big holes into the ground. These caissons are a minimum of a couple feet wide, and they run anywhere from 20 to 100 feet into the ground. The house that we have up on the screen now is one of the only examples of homes that's in the process of being rebuilt on the coast of Malibu as of the filming of this video. You can see in these clips that it's got like a dozen or more caissons that have already been poured, plus an additional concrete seawall that is meant to further protect the building from the ocean.
All right, so the four major caissons on the outside of the seawall are where the house is going to go. The seawall is on the caissons underneath it, and these things go down about 4 stories.
As you might guess, all of this concrete and excavation work is incredibly expensive. Adam Carolla actually talked to the builder of that house that we were just looking at, and the builder said that just the foundation alone on that house was going to cost over $2.5 million. The thing is, it was always a bit challenging to build on the water because you had to deal with the Coastal Commission, which means a lot of red tape. But after the fires, Malibu's rebuild guidelines got even more strict, adding all of these extra coastal layers that weren't even previously required. So this means that now, before a rebuild can be permitted, a property owner must show plans for the home's footprint, design, floor plan, and then they also need to show a separate slew of reports showing how the foundation will do against all of these kinds of risks. We're talking wind, flood, earthquakes, waves, fires. Naturally, all this is stirring up a whole new wave of conspiracy theorists who are wondering why we're giving these fire victims who want to rebuild such a hard time. It makes you wonder if the city even wants all of this iconic coastline to be rebuilt at all. I don't know. I'm really curious to see how Malibu looks 1 year from today. Thanks for watching.